Hey, what's going on, everyone? What is up? Your friend Dean Kulaweera here, and every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time Zone, I'm right here to help you folks out with job search tips, advice, strategies, practical, pragmatic tips and advice that you folks can use in your job search, all right? And again, just a heads up, I don't know, I guess I'm having some internet issues, but I might be having a slow internet connection. So if my video is like a little blurry or anything, just hang tight. Looks like it's already fixed itself, but it keeps coming and going. But hopefully it doesn't affect the stream. So anyway, I hope you're doing well. Hope everyone out there is doing great. Don't be shy. Feel free to say hi in the comments. Introduce yourself in the comments. Network with each other and make friends with each other. Right? You're part of the. If you've been tuning into my live streams, you're a part of my community. So I want to make sure that all of you are able to make some great connections with each other as well. We got some comments coming in. We got Mustawal in the house. Hello, Mustawal. Good to have you here. Thanks so much for tuning in. We got someone who says, hey, Dean, good seeing you after long. I'm not sure why it doesn't show the name, but I'm guessing this is someone who tunes in frequently. So thank you so much. Appreciate you tuning in. Not sure who you are, but great to have you here. And thanks so much for your comment. So today, folks, I'm going to be speaking about the four things recruiters look for on your resume. Now, just a heads up, of those four things, two of those things, like, recruiters are going to be looking for 100% of the time. The other two depends on the requirements for the role, right? But I'm going to be talking about those four things that recruiters are going to be looking for when they're looking over your resume, whether it's, you submitted an application online, you submitted it through a website, you emailed it to them directly, or you send it to a hiring team. The hiring team's like, okay, I'm going to send it to my recruitment team, and they're going to take care of it and look at it first. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, these are the four things that every single recruiter out there is going to be looking for on your resume. This is based on my own experiences as a recruiter. I think 9 plus, almost 10 years in the industry. And it's also based on, conversations and discussions I've had with fellow recruiters, former colleagues and coworkers when I worked at other agencies. And this is, it's not going to be anything that I think most recruiters out there will disagree with me on, right? So four things, that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, before I get into that, quick shout out to everyone tuning in on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So for those of you tuning in for the first time, every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time Zone, I go live here on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter, right? So if you have a favorite out of those three platforms, you should be able to see me live on any of those every Wednesday, 11 a.m. So Eastern Time Zone. So make sure you mark your calendars. And just a quick heads up, I'm not going to speak about the roles I'm recruiting on in detail because I know you folks probably want me to start talking about today's topic ASAP. So I will say this: look, if you're a software developer, if you're a business analyst, if you're a project manager, you're a systems administrator, network administrator, I mean, pretty much any infrastructure operations role on that side of things. These are the typical common roles I'm frequently recruiting on, right? So, and actually, as a matter of fact, folks, look, whatever your field is in IT. Just reach out to me. Give me an introduction. Let me know who you are. Let me know a bit, brief summary about your background in your career. And even if I'm not able to help you right now, I should be able to help you at some point in the future, right? If you're based out of Toronto or anywhere in Canada for that matter, if you're an IT professional, typically I recruit on roles that are intermediate level and ups, right? So you should have 3+ years of professional experience and up. As an IT professional. So if that's the case, just send me a LinkedIn message, send me an email, And I'm at the LinkedIn connection request limit. So if you do send me a connection request, it's going to be in like this waiting queue or whatnot, because I can't accept it right away, because I have reached the 30,000 connections limit on LinkedIn. So if I don't accept your invite, don't think that is because I don't want you in my network or something, unless I see something really sketchy on your profile. Right? But outside of that, it's because I've reached the connection limit. All right. So that's it for that. Now, make sure you like, comment, and share. If you know someone in your network that might benefit from today's segment, make sure you share this segment with them, and make sure you hit like, because that makes it available to more people and it's more visible on LinkedIn. Or so I've been told. That's how the algorithm works. And also, if you want to follow me on all my other social channels, check out my Linktree page. So go to linktr.ee/DK Tech Recruiter, linktr.ee/DK Tech Recruiter for all my social links. I'm also active on Instagram, TikTok. I also got a podcast on, what is it? Anchor.fm, Breaker. What's the other one? Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. So I also upload a replay of these live streams as well onto those platforms. So if you're more of an audio person, you can check me out on there as well. And make sure you subscribe to my LinkedIn newsletter. The link is on the Linktree page as well, but you can also go to my LinkedIn profile. Scroll down to the featured section. There should be a link to click on that'll lead to my LinkedIn newsletter. So make sure you subscribe. I release a new edition every week. I speak about a recruitment topic, and I also speak about a job search related topic as well, right? So if you're a hiring manager, hiring team, responsible for recruitment in your organization, or maybe you're a job seeker, like, you're going to get something out of that weekly edition, all right? So make sure you subscribe. And also just wanted to give you a heads up. Something I'm trying to introduce real soon, coming soon on LinkedIn, exclusively on LinkedIn, is LinkedIn audio rooms. All right. I recently discovered that I have access to, creating LinkedIn audio rooms. All right. So that's like, those of you familiar with Clubhouse, it's audio only. It's almost like kind of like Zoom or Google, Google Meet or something, but it's audio only, right? So this is where I can actually engage with you folks. You folks can ask me your questions live. And as much as I like these live streams, I would love to interact with you folks, and have actual conversations with you folks. So I'm pretty excited about this. Not sure when or how I'm going to implement this. I'm probably going to do like a test run sometime this week or next week, but I got to figure out my schedule, because it'll probably have to be after hours. But anyway, I'll figure it out, and I'm going to introduce this for sure. A weekly audio room where I can talk about a topic, or it can be like an open Q&A, an open mic or something like that, where I get to hear from you folks about your job search, struggles and problems and questions, and I can interact with you live, and I can respond to your questions and all that stuff. So look, I'm excited about introducing that into my weekly, routine of content, right? So I'm looking forward to that. So stay tuned for that. And as mentioned before, look, if you're an organization, if you're an IT professional here in Canada, if you're an organization, you're looking to hire tech talent, if you're an IT professional looking for your new or next tech gig, make sure you reach out to me and let me know a bit more about your situation to see if there's any way I can help. Email me at this email address below. It's dean@techrecruiters360.com, dean@techrecruiters360.com. Just a heads up, in case you have been emailing me and you're not getting a response, it could be that I didn't get your email, or maybe sometimes some of you have been emailing me and your email is ending up in my spam folder, which I sometimes forget to check. So send me a LinkedIn message as well, all right, if you don't hear from me shortly. So that being said, I'm going to get into today's topic: four things that recruiters are looking for on your resume. Now, if you have any questions or comments about this, or if you have any questions about anything job search related or anything recruitment related, I'm happy to answer any recruitment related questions as well. For those of you who might be on a part of a hiring team and you're experiencing certain challenges, feel free to start putting your questions in the comments right now, and I'll get into the Q&A part at the end of today's segment, and I'll start responding to your questions. All right. We got some more comments. So that was Ariz in the house. Okay, good to have you here, Ariz. Thanks for tuning in. We got Chandrahasa in the house as well. Hello to you as well, Chandrahasa. Thanks so much for tuning in. And we got a hello from someone else as well. Thanks for tuning in. We got some questions. Abhinav asked questions. Abhinav, I'll get to your question after the segment. And we got Charlotte Robello in the house. Hello, Charlotte. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I appreciate your comment. So let's get back to today's segment. Today's topic, folks. The 4 things recruiters are looking for on your resume. Now, the first 2 things I'm going to be talking about are relevant 100% of the time. 100% of the time, the first 2 things I'm going to talk about, recruiters will be looking for on your resume, right? So get ready to take notes. And if you have questions along the way, feel free to start dropping them in the comments. And as soon as I get to the Q&A part at the end of the segment, I will respond to all of your questions from the comments, all right? So the first thing, and by the way, before I get into actually today's topics, some of you might be wondering, well, Dean, how do you know about these 4 things that recruiters are looking for? Is it based on your personal experience, blah blah blah, or what it is? What is it? Well, it's definitely based on my personal experience. It's definitely based on what I've heard from my fellow recruiters out there and former colleagues and coworkers. But it's also just based on the meetings that I've had with hiring teams, right? Hiring teams, recruiters typically meet with the hiring teams to discuss the requirements for the role and et cetera, all that stuff. And it's based on my observances and in terms of patterns I've seen in terms of what hiring managers are typically looking for, and that they want us to pay attention to as we're starting our recruitment cycle or our recruitment process. So it's based on that, right? These 4 things, folks, these are not like random things that I'm just throwing out there. Like, this is based on also my conversations with hiring managers as well, right? So the first thing is, number one thing, and this is going to be the case 100% of the time, every single recruiter is going to be looking for this on your resume. It's the most obvious thing, is skill set match, right? They're going to be looking for specific skills on your resume that are a reflection of what they're actively recruiting on for the position that they're recruiting on, right? Recruiter meets with the hiring manager. The hiring manager is like, okay, Dean, we're looking for a software developer. They need to have strong skills and experience with Java, JavaScript, Angular, HTML, CSS, a full stack developer. That's what they're looking for. Those are the skills that the recruiter is going to be basing their search on, and that's going to be the case 100% of the time, folks, for whatever position the recruiter is recruiting on. And it doesn't have to be a tech recruiter either. It could be a finance recruiter, could be an accounting recruiter, some other field, a sales recruiter, like whatever it is. They're going to be 100% of the time, they're going to be looking for specific skills. And that is what they're going to be basing their search on, right? And not just when they're actually literally looking at your resume, but also when they're conducting their ATS search, they're conducting a Boolean search. The keywords that the recruiter is going to be using is going to be based on what skills the hiring team is looking for in an ideal candidate, right? And this is how the recruiters are going to kind of baseline their search. This is where the search is going to start. This is the bare minimum any recruiter is going to be doing in their searches. What skills am I looking for? Does this person have the skills that I'm looking for? Are these skills reflected on the resume? Are these skills reflected on the LinkedIn profile? Now, I'm definitely mostly focusing my today's topic on what they see on your resume and your LinkedIn profile. But don't think, folks, this does not apply to your actual conversations as well. Because some of you, what you're doing is you're talking about a whole bunch of your skills, but you're not focusing on these baseline skills the recruiter is looking for. Because if you're not talking about the main stuff that the recruiter is looking for, the main skill set, the main skills, then you're not going to be able to effectively grab their attention and keep their attention as well. Right? Your resume is going to get a recruiter's attention. Your LinkedIn profile is going to get a recruiter's attention. They're going to get you on the phone. But if you want to keep their attention, you got to be talking about relevant stuff. And that definitely means the relevant skills that you bring to the table. So the first thing is skill set match. Does this individual, does this candidate, does this job applicant that whose resume I'm reviewing right now, do they have the skills required for the role? This is going to be the case 100% of the time. Every single recruiter out there is going to first and foremost be looking for skill set fit, skill set match, experience, which is connected to, of course, your actual experience and expertise. If that's not there on your resume, if that's not there on your LinkedIn profile, if that's not being reflected in your conversation one-on-one with the recruiter, they're not going to see you as a fit, folks. They're not going to see you as a fit for the role. They're not going to feel like you have the right skills and all of that stuff for this position. And that's when they're going to be like, either they're going to tell you up front, hey, I don't feel like you're the right fit for this role. I'll be in touch with you something else in the future, blah, blah, blah. Or if they're more passive, they're going to be like, they're going to end things more politely. They're going to be like, oh, well, I have some other candidates to speak to. I'll be in touch with you. I'll let you know, after I speak to other candidates. Or they're going to be like, or they're going to politely end the call by saying, well, send me a copy of your updated resume and I'll keep in touch. Right. So look, that's the case, right? You have to reflect the key skills that you have, that you bring to the table, that are a direct match for what the recruiter is looking for in an ideal candidate for this role. And this is going to be the case 100% of the time. All right. Now, the second thing is, and thing number two is, the second thing that every recruiter is going to be looking for on your resume. And again, this second thing is 100% of the time they're going to be looking for. That is level of experience. Okay, level of experience. This is very important. Some of you might not like this. Look, I see the post on LinkedIn some of you put out there, all right? Oh, it shouldn't matter how many years of experience a candidate has. What matters is the quality of the experience. And look, to a certain degree, I agree with you folks, right? I totally get where you're coming from. I agree. Quality over quantity of years. Yes, I totally get that. I makes sense. But the recruiters don't have time to call and figure that out for all 250, on average 250 applications for every job posting that they post on, folks. Okay, it's not going to happen. No recruiter has that much of time to speak to 200 plus applicants every day to figure out who has the right quality of experience. So what they're going to do, the easiest thing is to look at your resume, look at your LinkedIn profile, and see how many years of experience you have for the specific role that they're recruiting on, right? Because the meeting with the hiring team is going to be like, okay, Dean, we want you to find, a software developer with blah 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 skill set, and we're looking for someone at a senior level, so that they need to have at least 7-8+ years of experience, right? So go out there and find these people for us, right? So in addition to the skill set, which was point number one, we're also looking for years of experience, all right? So if I'm recruiting on a senior level position, 7-8+ years of experience. I mean, sorry, folks, if you're a junior level person, like if you have 1 to 2 years of experience, or even intermediate level experience, you have 4 or 5 years of experience, I mean, I'm probably not going to see you as the right. Probably not going to give you a call. Okay, probably not going to give you a call. Yes, maybe that might be unfair. Yes, maybe you have strong experience with certain types of projects, and you have great experience and great knowledge and all that stuff. But look, as a recruiter, the hiring team, they expect me to find people with the specific years of experience, and that's the type of experience I got to go out there and find, right? So this is the other thing that recruiters are looking for on your resume and on your LinkedIn profile and in your conversations. They're gonna, if they're looking for someone at a senior level, or it doesn't have to be senior level. Let's say they're looking for someone at an intermediate level, right? They're looking for at least 3 to 4+ years of experience. And that needs to be reflected on your resume and your LinkedIn profile. If they're not seeing that, they're not gonna see you as the right viable fit. Now, this is also the case, like, for example, if I'm recruiting on a junior level position, okay, 1 to 2 years experience, 1 to 3 years experience, or an intermediate level position, which is generally 3 to 4 up to maybe 6 years of experience. If you're a senior level person and you're trying to reach out to me about an intermediate role I'm recruiting on, probably not going to consider you as well, right? There has to be you have to be the person with the right level of years of experience and expertise. Because as a recruiter, recruiters are not going to be able to ask you those in-depth technical questions to figure out, okay, even though this person might not have the exact specific years of experience, they do have knowledge to excel in this role. Most recruiters do not have that level of technical expertise, folks, right? That is up to the hiring team. But to make things easy, to make things simpler for the recruiter is going to be focusing on how many years of experience you have. So that is the other thing that needs to be reflected on your resume. Are you detailing on your resume your years of experience? Is that specified in your professional summary area of your resume? Is it also on your LinkedIn summary area, on your LinkedIn profile? Like, you need to specify these things so that the recruiter, when they see your resume, when they see your LinkedIn profile, they can see, okay, they got this skill, and this skill. Great, they have that experience, but they also have the years of experience as well. Because for the recruiter, if they're going to submit someone to the hiring manager, especially if it's an external recruiter such as myself, right? Staffing agencies, recruitment agencies, external recruiters. Like, if I present someone who has the right skill but not the right level of experience, I mean, the client's going to be like, the hiring manager is going to be like, Dean, I mean, we told you we want someone with X number of years of experience. Why are you presenting people to me that don't have that level of experience? Right? Then it comes back to me, right? Then I'm going to look like a fool, and they're going to be like, okay, go out there and find us the right people that we asked you to find. So the years of experience, that is something also very, very important that needs to be reflected on your resume. Now, I want to stress this because some of you, what you're doing is you're kind of vague with your years of experience, in the sense of you're not listing your month and when you're listing your positions on your resume as well as your LinkedIn profile, maybe you're only putting the years, right? Some of you are only doing this. You're only putting the years, but you're not putting the month and year. So the recruiter can't quickly calculate, based on looking at all of your positions, like how many years of actual experience you have, right? Because if you put worked at company ABC from 2020 to 2021, I mean, what does that mean? Does that mean January 2020 to December 2021, which is great, which is almost like 2 years? Or is it, December 2020 to January 2021, which means 2 months of experience? I mean, it's a big question mark, right? It's not clear. So try and put down your month and years when you're writing each of your positions on your resume and your LinkedIn profile. Put down the month, put down the year, so the recruiter can quickly evaluate, how many months or years you were working at each specific position, and they can calculate. Okay, they did 3 years here, 5 years here, 2 years here. Okay, great. So they got, like, they're at a senior level in their senior level experience. So I can confidently present this person to my client or to the hiring team. So that is the second item, which is extremely important, which needs to be reflected on your resume. We got some comments here. We got Abhinav, who says, thank you. Hey, no worries, Abhinav. I'll get to your question shortly. We got Joshna. I think you have a question. I'll get to your question shortly. Sweta Rejmi has a great comment here. So Sweta says, as a hiring manager, I look for experience, the industry they worked in, tools they have used on technical roles, and digital portfolio for certain roles. I ain't hiring for attitude. Yeah, I mean, this is such a great point, Sweta. And by the way, I've definitely seen, Sweta, you've posted about this so often, and I always agree with what you're saying here. Folks, don't get fooled by these fluffy, feel good posts on LinkedIn. All right, I see these posts on LinkedIn where they talk about, oh, I don't hire for experience, I don't care about skills, I don't care about experience, all I care about is attitude, and a great attitude and potential, and blah blah blah. I mean, come on, folks, right? And Sweta, I'm sure you agree with me as well. Like, this is just a bunch of BS that people write to get likes and comments and smiley faces on LinkedIn. But it's one thing if you want the likes and the smiley faces and the warm, fuzzy feelings, but reality is a totally different thing, folks. And that's what Sweta is saying here. By the way, another person you want to make sure you follow, she puts some great content on LinkedIn, a ton of great content. And I think Sweta used the example in the past. Look, if you're hiring a plumber or electrician, right, you're not going to care about attitude, right? I mean, of course, if it's a plumber or electrician with a great attitude and they're pleasant, of course that's a nice thing. But you're going to be hiring for the skills, the aptitude, the knowledge, the expertise, the ability of the plumber or the electrician or whoever it is, right? I mean, potential. I mean, how are you gonna? I mean, if you're gonna spend money on someone, you want to make sure they have the skills and the ability to help with your plumbing issue or your electrical issues in your household, right? That's the reality of it, folks. Like you have to have the skills, and the experience. That's what hiring managers are looking for. Okay, so I totally agree with what you're saying, Sweta. Great comment there, and I love that analogy you use in your post as well. Mitchell says, "Hi Dean, thank you for sharing these points." No worries, Mitchell, my pleasure. And then someone says, tough to prove skills until on the job. Therefore, experience precedes skills for getting placed. Yeah, fair enough. But what I mean here, I'm assuming this is ours, is you gotta still reflect those skills on your resume, right? If that's not being reflected, like, just from a practical standpoint, like, the recruiters are not even going to be able to find your resume, right? Because as a recruiter, part of my keywords, like how I find people on LinkedIn as well as on the resume database, on the ATS, part of my keyword search is always skills, right? And if your skills are not being properly reflected on your resume or your LinkedIn profile, I'm not even going to be able to find your resume or your LinkedIn profile, right? So while I do agree, it is definitely tough to prove your skills until you're on the job. Regardless, it is important to make sure you reflect your skills on your resume as well as on your LinkedIn profile, right? So great point there. Great point there. Charlotte says, thank you, Dean. You provided valuable tips. Appreciated detailed information. No worries, Charlotte. Thanks for the feedback. So I'm going to get into, before I get into the other comments, I'm going to get into the remaining 2 points I wanted to discuss. Sweta says, LOL, influencers post hire for attitude. Give them a chance. I echo this BS. Yeah, exactly. Sweta says, I have people for attitude after working. I can measure with KPI. How do you measure attitude in an interview? Exactly. I mean, exactly, right? I mean, the same thing with the whole cultural fit thing. Like, how do you measure cultural fit? How do you measure attitude, right? I mean, you got to first and foremost look at skills, ability, expertise, experience. Like, those are the things you can at least test for, right? At an interview, or whatnot. And the other stuff, attitude and stuff like that, of course, that comes later on, and then you can evaluate that later on. But look, let's be practical, folks. All right, let's be practical, and let's stick to how the real world works, right? So that being said, let me finish my remaining 2 points, the remaining two things recruiters are looking for on your resume before I get into the remaining comments and questions. But yeah, definitely, folks, keep the questions and comments coming through. I'll get to those shortly, right? So far, what do we speak about? The four things recruiters are always looking for on your resume. The top two things they're 100% of the time going to be looking for is, number one, skills. Do you have the actual skills required to succeed in the role? That needs to be reflected on your resume, on your LinkedIn profile, and also emphasized in your conversations as well. Second thing is level of experience. How many years of experience you have? Is it junior level? Is it intermediate level? Is it senior level? That needs to be reflected on your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and again, in your conversations one-on-one as well. Now, I'm going to get to the third one. Now, the third one is not the case 100% of the time. This could depend on the requirements for the role, right? And this is types of projects that you have worked on, okay? So the scenario might be, I meet with the hiring manager. They're like, Dean, we need you to find a software developer with XYZ skill sets. They need to be at a senior level in their career. We're looking for someone 7-8+ years of expertise and experience in their field. But we also need someone who has specific type of experience with specific types of projects. So we need someone who has experience working with, for example, cloud transformation projects. Okay, developers who have been involved in cloud transformation projects, who have been able to upgrade software from on-site type of software into more cloud-based software, blah blah blah, whatever. Like, I'm just coming up with an example off the top of my head. So specific types of project experience, right? So this is another aspect that might be connected to your skills, but I find some people do not reflect on their resume is specific types of projects they worked on. Now, this is especially important if you're a contractor, and it's also very, very important if you're like a senior level person who has multiple projects under your belt, and especially if you've been working for consulting companies, right? You've been working for a consulting company, and you've done projects for multiple clients of that consulting company. You need to reflect specific types of projects. Were they SaaS projects? Were they cloud projects? Were they digital transformation projects? Were they, construction industry related projects? Were they finance projects? Were they customer service projects? Blah. I can go on forever, right? You folks get my point. You need to reflect specific types of projects that you have worked on that might be required or of interest to the recruiter. Now, the challenge with this is when you're applying for a role, right, at the application stage, you're just looking at the job description. You haven't actually had a conversation with the recruiter or someone else. You might not be able to know what type of projects that they might be looking for, right? It might not be accurately reflected on the job description. So you got to make sure that you're listing out your projects, or at least mentioning the types of projects that you have been a part of for the positions that you've been working on, or even at least in the summary area of your resume or your LinkedIn profile, because this is another aspect that's really going to get the attention of recruiters, right? Because look, as a recruiter, I've recruited on positions. Excuse me, I'm just going to take a sip of water. Like, I have recruited on positions. I know I use the example of software developers, but I'd say this happens a lot, especially when I'm recruiting on project management related positions, where I've been recruiting on project management roles, and I've come across, fantastic candidates, senior level experience, seasoned, worked at multiple companies, multiple types of projects, but they were missing in that specific type of project that my client was looking for, right? The hiring team, because they're like, Dean, we need someone who has worked specifically on, Microsoft Dynamics projects. And I'm speaking to a great project manager, but they just haven't had experience working on Microsoft Dynamics related projects. So I can't consider that candidate, right? Or sometimes I'd be speaking to a candidate, a project manager who does have that experience, but they haven't specified that on their resume or their LinkedIn profile. So I just happen to get lucky speaking to this person, but I mean, I could have missed them as well, right? I mean, I could have really missed this individual had I not spoken to them and found out that, they actually do have experience with Microsoft Dynamics projects, but it wasn't reflected on their LinkedIn profile, and it wasn't reflected on their resume. So you got to make sure, folks, if you have specialized in, maybe not specialized, because I know if you specialize, you're probably already emphasizing this on your resume or your LinkedIn profile. But if you have worked on specific types of projects, right, that were maybe more specific than maybe some of the other projects you worked on, you want to make sure you emphasize this and or at least, at the very least, folks, at least mention it on your resume, because this is another third aspect that recruiters sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes they're going to be looking for, is specific types of project experience that you might or might not have. This is also another important aspect recruiters are looking for, right? So it's not just about skills, not just about years of experience, but also what specific types of projects has this person worked on, and is that experience a fit for what my client is looking for? That is to say, the hiring team, what they're looking for. This is also very, very important. Now, the other point is the other final thing, right? The fourth thing, the final thing that recruiters are looking for on your resume as well as your LinkedIn profile is types of industry experience that you might or might not have. This is another experience. This is another aspect of your experience you want to emphasize, right? Do you have experience in the banking industry? Do you have experience in the capital markets industry? Do you have experience in the construction industry, the accounting industry? I don't know, whatever else, right? But you have to reflect on your resume. Do you have experience with certain types of industries? Telecom industry. I gave a couple of examples there. I don't know why my brain's going blank right now. Could be because it's close to lunchtime and I'm hungry, right? But you folks get the idea, right? Different types of industries. Now, again, this is not the case 100% of the time. It depends on the role, but sometimes I've met with hiring teams where they're like, Dean, we need someone who has specific experience in the public sector, government, federal government, or provincial government projects, right? So that way, then, even if I meet a candidate who has the right skills, who has the right experience, who has the right types of projects, but yet they have not worked in that specific industry, then my client is going to be like, yeah, Dean, a great candidate, but we need to have someone who has experience in the public sector with these types of projects in the public sector, in the federal government. I've experienced this many, many times. Perfect example is, I already mentioned the public sector, federal government, provincial government. They typically have a preference for people who have prior experience in the federal government or provincial government, or basically, public sector types of roles. Other example is the banking industry. Like I have recruited on roles plenty of times in the banking industry where there's a clear preference for people who have prior experience working on banking industry related projects, right? And this is because of certain types of processes, procedures, maybe some red tape here and there that's typical in those types of industries, where the incumbent, the person that they're considering for the role, has prior knowledge and experience of navigating those things, right? So that's why they look for that prior experience in specific industries. So that's another thing you got to emphasize in your resume, folks. Like if you have experience in certain types of industries, you want to make sure you highlight these and mention these on your resume, on your LinkedIn profile, and also in your communication, your one-on-one communication with recruiters, right? Because this is another aspect the recruiter is going to be looking for. Do they have specific experience in the banking industry, in the construction industry, in the public sector? Like these are other things that the recruiter is going to be looking for, right? So that being said, like those that was my final thing, folks. And these are the 4 things recruiters are typically looking for on your resume. And again, I'm going to review them again, but again, the first 2, 100% of the time they're going to be looking for. The final 2, not all the time, but still something important you want to emphasize on your resume, because hey, you never know if they are or aren't looking for what they're looking for. If all you have is a job description that may or may not accurately reflect what the real requirements are for the role, right? So hey, you know what they say, folks, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. All right. So again, what was the 4 things I talked about? So the first thing recruiters are always 100% of the time they're looking for is skills, specific skills that you bring to the table that are required for the role. 100% of the time, no exceptions, folks. If they don't find these skills, they're probably not going to call you. They're probably not going to consider you for the position. Probably going to pass on you. Second thing, level of seniority, level of experience, level of expertise. How many years of experience do you have? Are you a junior level candidate? Are you a senior level candidate? Are you an intermediate level candidate? If they're recruiting on a junior level role, they got to see that you're a junior level candidate. If they're recruiting on an intermediate level role, they're going to look for that level of experience. If you're a senior level candidate, they're going to be looking to see, if they're recruiting on a senior level role, they're going to be looking for senior level experience. This is the case 100% of the time. If they don't see that fit, they're probably not going to consider you. They're probably going to pass you on to the next candidate. They're going to move on to the next candidate, right? Now, third thing doesn't happen. It's not a requirement all the time, but this is sometimes the case. They're going to look for specific types of projects experience that you have. Do you have experience with, such and such types of projects? Do you have experience with cloud-related projects, digital transformation projects, Dynamics 360, Microsoft Dynamics 365 project, like, specific types of projects that they're looking for in your experience. that their hiring team, that their hiring managers or their clients are looking for in an ideal candidate. They're going to be looking for that on your resume. So if you have such specific types of project experience, make sure you're reflecting that on your resume, your LinkedIn profile, as well as in your conversations as well, if relevant. The fourth thing is industry experience. Hey, we need someone who has experience working in the banking industry. We need someone with experience working in the public sector, federal government, provincial government, in the construction industry, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. They're going to be looking for this. And again, this is not going to be the case 100% of the time, but some hiring teams do prefer someone who has specific experience with specific industries, typically due to certain nuances and processes and procedures and red tape, yellow tape that you got to kind of navigate through, that the person needs to have knowledge of in order to succeed in the project or whatever they want them to work on, if they were to hire the person for the position, right? So those are the four things, folks. Four things recruiters are typically looking for on the resume. And those final two things I want to emphasize, even though it's not the case 100% of the time, I still advise you folks to make sure you reflect these things on your resume and on your LinkedIn profile, because you never know. I mean, maybe one recruiter doesn't care, but what if another recruiter looking at your resume does care about that stuff, right? So it's better to just make sure you include those on your resume and your LinkedIn profile, and of course in your conversations. So with that being said, folks, I hope everyone got value out of today's topic. Feel free to start putting your questions in the comments. I'm going to start getting into the questions in the comments shortly, and I'm going to respond to all of your questions. All right. So let's see here. We got some feedback here. Thanks, Dean, for bringing us this dose of reality. Hey, no worries. Puskas says, well done. Hey, thanks. Appreciate the feedback, Puskas. Charlotte says, superb tips. Appreciate that, Charlotte. Great to hear that you got value out of it. And Harshish says, very informative tips. Glad to hear that, Harshish. I mean, I try to share practical stuff, folks. Right? I don't get into the whole fluffy feel good stuff. I try to keep it real. I try to keep it practical, pragmatic, so you folks can take these sessions, go out there and actually, at least put yourself in a position where you're getting able to get some practical results, right? So that being said, I'm going to get into your questions. So if you have any questions, you have any follow-up questions or comments, start putting them in the comments right now, and I'm going to get into them chronologically as they were putting. Okay, so Abhinav Mera. So shout out to Abhinav. Thanks so much for tuning in, Abhinav. Abhinav says, hey, I wanted to ask that, do recruiters hire if we have little to no experience? Okay, so Abhinav, I'm going to talk about two categories of recruiters here. Okay, we got external staffing agency recruiters such as myself, and we got corporate, in-house corporate recruiters, right? So these are recruiters who work for the company that you want to apply for, that you're interested in, right? So they work in-house, corporate recruiters. So first I'll talk about myself, recruiters such as myself. Now, typically, Abhinav, external recruiters, staffing agency recruiters, typically we recruit at the intermediate level and up. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that we don't recruit on junior entry level positions every now and then, but if I were to, draw one of those graphs, it'll be like a bell curve. Okay. Tech recruiters typically recruit on intermediate to senior level roles, less frequently on junior and entry level roles, and less frequently on executive level roles, right? The bulk of our recruitment efforts are on intermediate to senior level, right? So this is why, Abhinav, you might be experiencing when you're reaching out to external recruiters, third-party recruiters, external recruiters, you might not find much of a response. Not because they don't not because they're being rude or impolite or anything. It's because most of our efforts are focused on intermediate to senior level positions, right? So, which brings me to the second category, right? Corporate in-house recruiters. That would probably be the best use of your time, Abhinav. Focus your efforts on corporate in-house recruiters. So these are recruiters who work internally at the companies you want to work for. They're typically, they're recruiting on pretty much anything and everything at their organization, which might include entry level or junior level experience, right? So you want to focus most of your networking efforts, Abhinav, with corporate recruiters, in-house recruiters, and also maybe connecting directly with hiring managers at the companies you want to work for. That is your best use of your time. Now, that being said, I'm not saying staffing agencies and external recruiters don't recruit on junior entry level positions. They do, right? So maybe what you want to do, I'd say still submit your resume to staffing agencies on their website. They usually have an option for you to upload your resume and stuff like that. Still do that. Still keep in touch. Start building the relationship, right? Because look, maybe they can't consider you for any roles right now, but guess what? 3 4 years down the line, Abhinav, you're gonna have a whole bunch of more experience. You're gonna be you're gonna be at an intermediate level, and they're going to be in a better position to assist you at that point, right? So look, if they don't respond to you right now, Abhinav, don't take it personally. Don't take it personally. Don't feel like, oh, they don't want to help me, or no, it's nothing like that, right? It's just that, imagine the bell curve, right? The bell curve. Remember when we were in school, we were always taught showed the bell curve graph or whatnot. The bell curve for recruiters is intermediate to senior level. That's where we're mostly focusing our recruitment efforts on. So stay in touch, Abhinav. Build your network of connections for external recruiters, and guess what? 3 to 4 years down the line, when you're at an intermediate level in your career, they're going to be coming after you. They're going to be messaging you, including myself. Maybe, I don't know if you're in Canada, but including myself, I'm going to be coming after you. I'm going to be like, hey, Abhinav, remember me? You came to my live stream. I gave you some advice. You look like you have like 3 4 years of experience right now. Maybe I can help you with some positions that I'm recruiting on right now. So that's just the reality, Abhinav, right? So hope that helps. Thanks for your great question. We got Joshna in the house. So shout out to Joshna. Thanks so much for tuning in. So Joshna says, hello, Dean. Currently looking for a job in Canada in the IT recruitment, but am unable to find any opportunities. Please let me know or guide me if you have any opportunity. Yeah, so Joshna, I'm a tech recruiter, but I don't recruit on tech recruitment positions, right? So I recruit on tech positions, but I don't recruit for recruit. Like I'm not a rec to rec recruiter, so I don't recruit for IT recruiters. So my advice, Joshna, like I'm not sure what your background is. Like I don't know if you haven't mentioned if you have previous experience as a recruiter, but look, staffing agencies, external recruiters. I mean, that's a great starting avenue for you if you want to get into recruitment, or even if you have previous experience. You definitely want to approach staffing agencies, recruitment agencies, and see if they're hiring right now for any positions. Should be pretty easy and simple for you, Joshna, to do a quick search on Google to find out who the main recruitment agencies are here in the greater Toronto area, or Canada. I'm not sure where you are, but start putting yourself out there. Start applying. Start connecting with people at these agencies that might be hiring. Pretty straightforward, and you shouldn't have much difficulty, especially if you have previous experience in recruitment. All right, so hope that helps. We got let's see here, more questions. Who else has a question here? We got here. So Sweta says, firing people for attitude makes sense after measuring metrics. Hiring doesn't make sense. I have fired many. Yeah, good point. So Sweta is referring to what we were talking about, right? I mean, when you're in the recruitment part of the cycle, I mean, we're looking for skills, experience, and like I mentioned, those two optional ones is types of project experience you have and types of industries you worked at, right? I mean, you can't really measure attitude and aptitude and all these magical things like everyone seems to be love talking about on LinkedIn, folks. I mean, come on, right? So exactly, Sweta, totally agree with you on that. Abhinav says, doing certifications from Google, Microsoft, etc., helping getting jobs. It can, Abhinav. It can. Based on my experience, it depends on the role, right? Depends on the role. Depends on the hiring manager's needs. Some hiring managers definitely do prefer someone who has specific certifications, whereas others are like, and I've been told this by hiring managers, by the way, in the past, where they've been told, look, Dean, I mean, people get these certifications, they memorize a whole bunch of stuff, but we've just seen so many candidates who can't really apply what they've learned. So if you are getting certifications, Abhinav, make sure that you communicate to them, you show to them, you demonstrate. And I don't know how you're going to do that. Maybe you can just explain it to them, or maybe you want to build your own portfolio of sample work. You want to show them that, hey, yes, you have this certification, but you're not just some guy who memorized a whole bunch of stuff, got an A+ on the exam, and now you're suddenly an expert in this thing. No, you actually have the practical ability to apply what you have learned in this certification. That is probably the most important thing, folks. Not just to you, Abhinav, but everyone else out there. If you're getting certifications, folks, if you're going to put it on your resume, if you're going to mention it and talk about it, be prepared, folks. Be prepared to demonstrate that you have the ability to practically apply what you've learned in that certification. Otherwise, I mean, how does it matter to the hiring team? I mean, right? I mean, think about it. Oh, you got a Google certification? Great. Okay, so how are you going to apply this to my organization? How are you going to apply this knowledge to our project that we've got going on right now? And how is it relevant to me? Like, you got to be able to communicate this stuff, folks, right? Like, I'm talking to all of you out there right now, right? I mean, don't just mention the fact that you got a certification. Talk about what you can do with that certification potentially for the organization. Talk about your ability to apply what you have learned with that certification. Otherwise, I mean, who cares, right? I mean, you might as well say you have a driver's license. Okay, good, good. You got a driver's license. Like, how does it apply to the organization, right? It probably doesn't, unless you're in like transportation, or you're hiring for a delivery person, or whatever. It has to be relevant, and it has to apply to the organization. They have to see that, okay, you got this certification, and it's going to benefit them and their organization. So just make sure you remember that, right? So hope that helps Abhinav and everyone else out there. So we got a Charlotte. Charlotte says attitude comes from your desire to work on a day-to-day basis. That's inborn. Speaking from experience, it's the examples. Oh, sorry, excuse me. It's the examples of how and when one did what. Makes it count. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with what you're saying, right? So Charlotte's saying, look, attitude is something. I definitely agree with what you said, Charlotte, about your desire to work on a day-to-day basis. Exactly. I mean, look, folks. I mean, if you don't have the attitude to that positive attitude, like you want to work, and it shows in your attitude, like you don't even want to be there. I mean, all of us have some maybe at some point experienced that, right? But it comes from being able to do what you got to do, and maybe meet or exceed the expectations. And some of us have this inbuilt in us, right? Like we have this natural positive attitude towards work. Whereas I've definitely met people, and I've spoken to candidates who their attitude to work is like, look, I just need something to put food on the table. I don't care about what they're doing, or their enthusiasm and excitement. Like they don't care. They only care about putting food on the table and paying their bills, which by the way is definitely important. But I mean, for me, it's like, come on, like you have to be excited and have the right attitude about your line of work as well, right? I mean, if we're going to spend 8 hours a day doing something, folks, I mean, it might as well be something that we enjoy, we have a positive attitude about, we're enthusiastic about, and we want to be a part of, right? I mean, otherwise it's like a miserable existence, right? So yeah, great comment there, Charlotte. Thanks so much for sharing that. Uh, and Sweta says, Abhinav, depends on what the hiring manager wants. Certificates are an add-on. Experience is the key. Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with you there, Sweta. So Abhinav says, hey, I'm still in university, entering my fourth year. So how does that influence my chance of getting a job? Yeah, so I think I kind of already answered this, Abhinav, but if you're taking a certification or something, you got to show your ability to practically apply what you have. And the other thing is, this goes to not just you, Abhinav, but every single new graduate out there. I've noticed this kind of belief from new graduates and freshers. They're like, oh, how am I going to get a job? I don't have any experience. I don't have any work experience. I didn't do a co-op. I didn't do an internship. What am I going to do? How am I going to get a job? Well, if that's the case, let's say you don't have an internship. Let's say you haven't done an internship. You haven't done a co-op. Well, what you want to do then, Abhinav, is you want to leverage what you learned in school, right? Because when you were in university, or I guess you are still in university right now, like you did several, I mean, you probably done a whole bunch of projects, maybe group projects, individual projects, where you had to apply what you were learning. And that's what you want to leverage, Abhinav, right? That's what you want to leverage at your interviews. If you're applying for entry level roles, you want to leverage that, because that is proof of your ability to apply what you have learned. So that's what you want to leverage, right, at your interviews, right? Because obviously you're entry level, you don't have professional experience, you haven't worked for other companies for extended periods of time. But if it's an entry level role, that's what you want to leverage your projects, your school projects, your academic projects, whether they were individual projects, group projects. And by the way, the group projects is a great example for you to show your ability to work on as part of a team. Because yeah, maybe it's an academic project, but you were worked as part of a group, right? As part of a team, you had to deal with the team dynamics, you had to deal with different personalities on the team. Everyone had to be assigned different roles. Everyone had a specific part that they were responsible for. I mean, this is exactly the same way it is in the real world, in the work world, right? So you want to leverage those experiences you had in school and university, Abhinav, and use that at your interviews, right? I mean, it's all stuff that you can use at your interviews. So hope that helps. Charlotte says, well said. Hey, thanks, Charlotte. Appreciate that. And I think this is Ariz. Ariz says the last tip is especially important for generalists, business analysts who span a lot of industries. You won't get tips like this from anywhere else, folks. I appreciate that, Ariz. Really, really appreciate that. But yeah, it's very, very important, folks. Okay, very, very important. And yeah, like I said before, definitely when I've recruited on especially project management roles as well as business analyst roles, I mean, typically my client, the hiring manager, has always mentioned this. Dean, we need someone who has experience with such and such types of projects and in such and such types of industries. This has to be reflected on your resume and on your LinkedIn profile, folks. Very, very important, right? Okay, so let's see here. We got any other questions? So Abhinav says, I have been applying to so many places and I'm getting unpaid internships. Yeah, so look, I understand your frustration, Abhinav, right? I mean, definitely understand that. Look, unpaid internships. I mean, I've seen the post on LinkedIn, right? And there are definitely many views on the whole unpaid internships. On the one side, we have people saying, oh, companies are taking advantage of new graduates and students and not paying them. And I can definitely see how some companies might be doing that. But on the other side, as an individual, if I was a new graduate, if I was someone about to graduate or in my fourth year of graduation, the way I'd be looking at it is, look, maybe for a couple of months, a month or two, a couple of weeks, I got to sacrifice my time and effort and energy and not get paid for it working for this company in this internship. But I'd be thinking about, okay, what do I get in return? Right? What do I get in return? What experiences am I going to have at this unpaid internship? What am I going to learn? What challenges will I be able to be a part of? What networking opportunities will it afford me to be a part of this company? As part of this internship, like you got to look at each and every aspect of it, right? And if it's not much of an opportunity, considering all these other avenues, all these other aspects of the internship, then yeah, maybe you might not want to go forth and be a part of this internship. But if the good outweighs the fact that it's unpaid, I'd say, hey, consider it, right? Because if you're able to learn new skills, if you're able to challenge your stuff, if you're able to get one-on-one mentoring possibly from like a senior level person who's been in the industry, right, which is great. If you're able to learn new technology, maybe work with brand new technology, if you're able to gain some at least some experience and able to put it on your resume that you did an internship at this company, if you're able to network with amazing people at this company, not just your manager, maybe other people on the team, maybe maybe directors, maybe vice presidents, maybe C-level executives at this company, hey, maybe you might be able to get a one-on-one, I don't know, weekly one-on-one mentoring from the CTO. I mean, hey, is that worth an unpaid internship? I don't know. Only you know the answer to that, Abhinav, right? And everyone else out there. You got to weigh everything, folks. Don't just look at the money. Look at what else you're getting out of the unpaid internship, right? So make sure you keep that in mind. Abhinav says, thank you so much for your tips. No worries, Abhinav. Glad to have you here. Charlotte says, true, staffing agencies open a lot of doors. Absolutely, 100%. Folks, sometimes the analogy I like to use in regards to staffing agencies is, it's like when you're hanging out downtown, okay, on a Friday night or Saturday night, you got this restaurant. It's like huge lineup. You got people lining up all the way down the street, and then you got this other shorter line, and those are people on the guest list, right? The VIP list, the guest list. If you work with a good staffing agency, you have the right skills, you have the right qualifications, the experience and stuff like that. Working with a good staffing agency or a great external recruiter is like skipping that general lineup and going straight to the VIP list. Because a great staffing agency, confident in your abilities, confident in your skills, and all of that stuff, they'll help you skip that long line of like 100 people and get you in front of their client ASAP, right? At least ASAP, get them in front of your client, right? That is the analogy I like to use, and it's very important to build positive relationships with great external recruiters and great staffing agencies out there, right? So definitely agree with you on that, Charlotte. Appreciate your comment. We got my friend Umair in the house. Umair says networking is crucial. Great tips, Dean. Hey, thanks so much, Umair. Really appreciate that. By the way, if you're into anything related to front end development, front end engineering, as a software developer or engineer, you want to make sure you connect with or follow Umair. Umair puts a lot of great content. So those of you, especially who might be students, okay, new graduate students, if you build a good relationship with Umair, he might even do a post about you. Hey, I can't make any promises, no promises, but Umair does some great posts out there. He helps out, young upcoming developers, new graduates and stuff like that. And he also posts a lot of great content about, software engineering development related stuff. So make sure you follow and connect with Umair as well, right? Great person to have in your network. Thanks so much for tuning in, Umair. Appreciate that. Abhinav says, haha, I love Canada, never, never leaving it. Awesome. Arjun says, hey, Dean, does websites like JobScan help for this topic as well? Okay, Arjun, great question. Now, I have not personally used JobScan, so I can't, folks, I can't recommend something I myself have personally not used. So I'm not sure. So I would say I'm probably not the right person to ask about this, Arjun. So if anyone else has had experience with JobScan, like practical experience, feel free to share in the comments. I can't personally vouch for it, Arjun, because I have not personally used it. So I can't recommend something that I have not personally used. But what I would say, Arjun, is in addition to using JobScan, make sure you customize your resume for the jobs you're applying for, folks. Okay, because that is something so important. And the other thing I want to emphasize, Arjun, is maybe JobScan can help you with the first point, which is emphasizing your skills. But I'm not sure if JobScan can really be helpful with the remaining three. All right, so years of experience, types of projects, in the types of industries you worked at. I'm assuming JobScan might not give you an alert and say, hey, based on this job description, you should emphasize, more experience with your Microsoft Dynamics projects and also your experience in the public sector. Like, I'm assuming JobScan probably doesn't help you out with that, right? So for those of you, even if you are using JobScan, I mean, don't use JobScan as your final end all be all. Like, do your own customizing as well. Mention those specific types of projects, folks. Mention those specific industry related experience that you have. Emphasize your years of experience. Like, you gotta, don't let automation do everything for you, or whatever these fancy things that they're coming out with. Like, you gotta still do some of your own customization as well, right? All right. So Arjun, hope that helps. So other thing is, Arjun says, how are you, Dean? Your tips are effective in Europe as well. I really appreciate that, Arjun. I'm doing great. Thanks so much for asking, Arjun, and hope you're doing fantastic as well. Really appreciate that. And Charlotte says, second that, Abhinav. Appreciate that, Charlotte. Networking is key for sure, absolutely. One last question. So Abhinav says, if I get experience from companies or projects that aren't in Canada but international organizations, does that really matter to recruiters? Arjun, absolutely, absolutely. Now, this is a point of frustration for many people, including myself, because it's so sad. Like, I mean, I don't know where this advice is coming from, folks. Some of you are being advised that, hey, you're in Canada now. All of your work experience in whatever other country you came from it doesn't count, folks. This is BS. Okay, I'm not going to say the word, but you know what BS stands for, and I'm not going to say it, right? But it. I mean, I don't know where this advice is coming from. It's terrible advice. If you come from another country and you have experience in your field from that other country, it's legitimate advice. You can vouch for it. You have maybe references who from your other country who can vouch for your abilities and what you did, what you accomplished. Absolutely, you should be talking about that stuff, folks. You should be talking about that stuff. You should be mentioning it on your resume. Just recently, I spoke to a candidate, and they've positioned themselves as a junior level candidate, right? Like, they at least on paper, on their resume, on their LinkedIn profile, they're like, oh, I have 3 years of experience with, I can't remember, I think they were like I think they were a business analyst or something like that. But anyway, I was talking to them, so I'm probing, I'm talking to them, I'm investigating their background and stuff like that. And finally they opened up and they were like, oh, well, I actually have, like, an additional 3 years of experience back home in my country. And I was like, okay, why didn't you not mention that on your resume and your LinkedIn profile? They're like, oh, well, someone advised me and said, oh, when you come to Canada, your experience from back home does not count. I was like, yo, this is getting crazy now. I mean, this is getting, I mean, folks, this is so like, I don't know what to, I don't, I'm speechless. Okay, and I'm a guy who usually knows what to say all the time. I always have something to say, and I'm speechless about this. Like, this person cut out 3 years of professional experience from their resume. They were applying to junior level roles. I'm like, you can apply for intermediate level roles at a minimum, because you have like total 6 years of professional experience in your field, and you've been told to not include that on your resume and your LinkedIn profile. For those of you giving out this advice, stop it. I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. I'm just it's so sad and frustrating. So look, Abhinav, like, I kind of went on a rant there, but look, yes, your experience from back in your other, back home, wherever you're from, from a different country or in international organization, absolutely, it does count, as long as you can back it up, as long as you can prove it, as long as you can talk about it, as long as maybe you can give some references who can vouch for it, credible people who can vouch for it, and preferably people you reported to, like managers, supervisors, directors, vice presidents, whatever. Absolutely, you should talk about it. You should leverage that experience, because it definitely certainly does count. So hope that helps, Abhinav. A great question there. Abhinav says, thanks. No worries, Abhinav. Abhinav says, obviously practical is always better than theoretical. For sure, absolutely, Abhinav. Charlotte says, thank you so much, Dean. No worries, no worries, Charlotte. Appreciate your feedback and hope you got great value out of today's segment. Abhinav says, I'll surely mention that in my resume. Sounds good. Harshi says, hello, Dean. This question is from recruiter perspective regarding how to handle the backouts, which is the biggest challenge for many recruiters. Having a profile backup is only the way, or any suggestion to counter such a situation? Okay, so Harshish, this is a great. So Harshish is asking, from a recruitment standpoint, right? So we're not talking job search right now. So what Harshish is asking is, how do you minimize the occurrences of candidates backing out in the recruitment process? Now, definitely, as you mentioned, Harshish, one of the ways is to always have backup, candidates that you have in the pipeline. But first of all, before I get into my advice on this, Harshish, I just want to say there's no 100% surefire way of ensuring that someone is not going to back out of the recruitment process. Look, it's going to happen, right? So don't feel bad about it. It's part of the recruitment. It's part of being a recruiter, part of the recruitment process. So don't feel bad about it, right? Now, with that being said, my advice in regards to this, Harshish, is in order to minimize the occurrences of a candidate backing out from the process, you have to make sure that you're doing a very, very thorough job in identifying what their wants and needs are and connecting that to the career opportunity that you're presenting them with, right? This is something that I've seen some recruiters make the mistake of not doing this well enough, right? And not because they're incompetent, but because you speak to a great candidate, you get excited, right? You're like, oh my god, this person is perfect. They have, they've been talking about their skills, their experience, their knowledge, their projects they've done. They're the perfect candidate. Oh my god, you're so excited to present them to the client. So you get their resume at ASAP, you present them to the client, and then later on they kind of back out, and you're like, okay, what happened? So what you got to do, Harshish, is you want to kind of slow it down. Like, yes, maybe they have the right skills, maybe they have the right experience, maybe they have the right project and industry experience, all of that stuff. But what I want you to do is slow it down just a bit and now probe a bit deeper into their wants, their needs, and their motivations. What interests you in this role? What are you looking for in an ideal role right now? Right? How would you describe your ideal career opportunity right now? Why is that? What kind of type of opportunity do you want to be a part of? What type of a company do you want to be a part of that would contribute to your career goals and aspirations, right? You want to probe and investigate, Harshish. You want to understand the candidate's motivations from their standpoint. So we're not just looking at, what does our client want? What does the hiring team want? That's just one part of one part of the formula. The other, I'd say even more important part is, what is the candidate's wants and needs and motivations? So your better understanding of that, Harshish, is going to help you make a better connection between what they want in an ideal career opportunity and what the hiring team is looking for in an ideal candidate. And you're going to be able to better make that connection. And you're going to be able to see that, the better you're able to make that connection, the better you're able to communicate that connection to the candidate. So you can be like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Candidate, based on what you told me that you're looking for XYZ, clearly my client, this hiring team, they're looking for someone, with your experiences and expertise and all that. But also it seems like you'd be able to achieve XYZ in this opportunity at this organization with my client. So when the candidate's able to see that, they're more likely to stick to the process and see it through, right? They're gonna have a high level of interest. And they're gonna be able to see, okay, wow, I mean, this is not just a skill set match. This opportunity might match my career goals and my aspirations. And because of that, Harshish, you're going to find that people are going to be less likely to drop out of the process, right? Because remember, as a recruiter, we're not just, this is what I've said this in the past, and maybe some might find this a little bit controversial. I don't see recruitment as an HR function, right? Recruitment is, in my opinion, recruitment is the sales function within HR, because we're selling the hiring team on great candidates, but we're also selling the candidate on a great career opportunity. And guess what? We can't sell a great career opportunity if we don't know what the candidate's career goals and aspirations are. So strengthen your understanding of the career goals and aspirations of the candidate, Harshish, and you're going to find that you're going to find less people dropping out of the recruitment process. That's definitely been my experience, and that's definitely been the reason why I've been able to get and keep people interested in the recruitment process. But I also want to emphasize, hey, in your probing, as you get to know the candidate's wants, needs, and motivations, you might find out that it's not the right opportunity for them. And if that's the case, you need to have the ethics, the honesty, and the goodwill to tell the candidate, hey, look, based on what you're looking for in an ideal role, this might not be the right opportunity for you right now. So, it's up to you if you want to proceed or not. But I would suggest we hold off on this one and consider another future opportunity, right? But that depends on you, Harshish, right? Hope that helps, Harshish. That should help you in your recruitment cycle in the future. Hope that helps. Abhinav says it's so nice to get perspective from recruiters itself. Thank you, Sweta and Dean. Hey, no worries, Abhinav. Charlotte says money follows. Get as much experience as you can. Absolutely, 100% agree with you, Charlotte. Abhinav says I'm following everyone. Awesome, awesome. Sounds good. And let's see, we got some questions, some more questions or comments here. So we got Arjun says, I'm not actively searching, but like to join the Wednesday sessions. It helps. It always helps to stay updated with the changing trends in job market. Your videos help to get multiple jobs across Belgium, France, and Germany. Wow, that's amazing, Arjun. I'm so glad I was able to contribute to that. And I'm so thankful to have you. You've been a great support, Arjun. So really appreciate having you join these sessions and really appreciate your support. Thanks so much for your feedback as well. I'm glad I was able to contribute in some way, Arjun. So thanks so much for that comment and feedback. Charlotte says, true, every experience counts in today's date. Yeah, absolutely, Charlotte. Look, folks, if your experience is relevant, you got to talk about it. You got to talk about it. You got to leverage it, and you got to use it as part of your presentation of yourself. You got to make sure you do that. Charlotte says, well said, Dean. Hey, thanks, Charlotte. Sweta says, I work with lots of newcomers, and when they listen to random folks, it hurts. Back home experience matters. Absolutely, 100%. And you know what? A lot of the time, folks, so thanks for that comment, Sweta. Totally agree with you. And what I find is a lot of the time, what people tell me is that it's actually from other fellow job seekers they get this advice from, right? Like people who came here a long time ago when times were different, and maybe discrimination was kind of more I don't know, something like that maybe, or I don't know. Like I'm finding a lot of job seekers telling me that they're getting advice from other job seekers to not talk about their non-Canadian experience or non-local experience. So I mean, this needs to stop, folks. I mean, look, if you have experience, credible experience from another country, you want to talk about that experience, you want to leverage that experience, especially if it's relevant, right? So definitely something important to talk about. Abhinav says, thank you once again. No worries, Abhinav. We got Mona in the house. Shout out to Mona. Thanks so much for tuning in, Mona. Mona says, recruiters have told some internationally trained developers I work with that they do not have enough Canadian experience. Sometimes I feel this is a cop-out for other concerns like communication skills. Mona, I 100% agree with you. I 100% agree with you that it is most certainly a cop-out, especially in the tech industry, right? Because in the tech industry, it doesn't make any sense for you to say that, hey, this candidate needs Canadian experience. IT, technology, I mean, tech is the same worldwide, right? Doesn't make any sense. And I think, and you made a very accurate assessment there, Mona. It's definitely why I think a lot of people talk about this whole Canadian experience thing. It's just a cop-out. They don't want to tell you that they're not confident about your communication skills or your soft skills or your personality or something like that. So instead, they talk about this whole Canadian skills thing. First and foremost, as far as I know, it's not legal. It is illegal for any company, any organization to demand you to have Canadian experience. Now, the exception is there might be certain industries or certain types of fields or certain types of jobs that do require knowledge of certain Canadian or local processes, procedures, laws, regulations, and stuff like that. But outside of that, I mean, it doesn't make any sense, right? It doesn't make any sense. And the recruiters out there, if you're a recruiter out there telling people that they need international, like they don't have Canadian experience, and you can't consider them because they don't have Canadian experience outside of those specific scenarios, I mean, think about what you're doing. Okay, think about what you're doing. It doesn't make any sense. No logic to it. Stop doing it. So thanks, Mona. Thanks for your comment there. Appreciate having you here. And Harshish says, agreed. Thanks for your elaborative explanation. It was a helpful tip. No worries, Harshish. All the best in you and happy recruiting to you, my friend. So looks like that's it. Looks like that's it, folks, for the questions and the comments. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to mark your calendars every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone. I'm right here, folks, to help you out with job search tips, advice, and strategies. And again, if you're in an organization, you need assistance finding tech talent, or you're an IT professional in need of finding your next career opportunity, make sure you connect with me and let me know a bit more about your situation to see if there's any way I can assist you. And for those of you who are job seekers, and your great challenge right now is you're applying for jobs, you're not getting responses, check out more information about my online digital course, Applying to Jobs Online 101, where I teach you a 3-step process and how to increase responses to your job applications by up to 20%. right? So if you want more information about that course and you want to see more testimonials from others who have taken that course, check out my website, dkglobaltalent.com/get responses, dkglobaltalent.com/get responses, dkglobaltalent.com/get responses. So, folks, I appreciate everyone tuning in. And hey, make sure you tune in next week and make sure you follow me on all my social channels on my Linktree page, linktr.ee/DK Tech Recruiter for all my content. And I'll see you around next time, folks. Have a fantastic week. Remember, don't give up. Keep taking action. Stay positive. And I'll see you around next time. Take care, folks.